Hello and welcome to the Founders 15 podcast. My name is Phil Birss. I'm here today with Phil McSweeney. Hello, Phil. How are you?
I'm fine, Phil. Good to meet you. Thank you very
Very good.
much for having me on.
No problem at all. This is a very, very short 15-minute podcast. That's the nature of what we do here today. So let's get right to it. I have your book, AngelThink, which is designed to help founders, yes, thumbs up, help founders go through that process of raising money, specifically with angels. So I'm going to start with a provocative question, Phil. I'm going to set my stance out and say I prefer fundraising through VCs. Why should a founder think about raising through an angel?
Because most founders trying to raise with a VC are wasting their time. They're barking up the wrong tree, as it were. And in part, it depends where you are stage-wise. But VCs are not going to give money to pre-seed or, in most cases, seed level founders. What VCs are looking for is for someone else like angels to take a lot of the risk off the table by putting their money in first and hopefully then finding companies which are going to fit their remit, their niche, which is rapidly scaling, opportunity to be, a global business, a global player. There's something called the triple, 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 double, double idea, which you may or may not have heard of. But it's a rule of thumb that VCs might be looking for, which says in 5 years, what we would like you to be able to do is triple your revenue, triple your revenue, triple your revenue, double your revenue, double your revenue.
Yes, that makes sense.
So you can go from in that kind of time frame being a 2 million revenue to over 100 million revenue. You might not quite be a unicorn, but that's the territory VCs want to get into. They want to cover the fund, apply the power law, and it's like 1% of companies that are going to fit that mold. So 99% of companies are just wasting their time even talking to VCs about whether they could raise money, but they're not necessarily wasting their time talking to angels.
I find it a really interesting debate, and I've been really looking forward to this conversation today, Phil, because I've helped a few people at what I would call pre-seed raise investment in the last kind of few months. And that's been with funds, with SEIS funds. And my kind of counterpoint to that would be is I like the VC funds because if you've got a really, really good pitch and if you've got your finance plan sorted and if you're very clear about what you're going to do with the money over the next 12 months and how you're going to increase the value of the business, I find if you tick all the boxes with the VCs, they will have those conversations and they will invest in pre-seed, pre-revenue, and even ideation level companies.
Yes.
So I'd be really interested to get your thoughts about when do you think is the right time? Is there a certain type of company, a certain type of vertical where angel funding is better? Or are you more holistic and do you think it works for everybody to approach angels?
There are angels. I said it at the beginning of the book. Angels are not a homogenous group of people. They come with all sorts of different interests, all sorts of different theses. Some are generic, some are very specialist. And if you can find the right angel or small group of angels, you have a reasonable chance of raising money, providing, well, all sorts of provisos, which I'm sure we'll get into in a minute. But just to go back to this idea of SEIS and EIS funds, VCs are not necessarily giving you money to be part of a fund in the same way that they might give you money, if they were investing in you as part of the triple, 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 double, double, kind of remit. They make money because they can offer a fund to the market. so they need people, they need founders in the fund, and they are taking a commission from the fund, and that's a revenue stream. Um, so it's not quite the same reason, I think, that is driving VCs to invest in you directly to cover the fund, as it might be if they are trying to fill a fund to offer to the market for um, investors that whose primary driver is tax relief, not not multiplying their investment 20 or 50 times.
Yeah, I completely get that, and I think it's a really interesting debate between the two different kind of thought process between a fund that charges a fee, a typical fund, and an angel who won't necessarily charge you anything to deploy the cash. I'd love
Yeah,
to get, just as a starting point, Phil, I'd love to get your opinion on the top 3 reasons why angels actually do angel investing.
yeah. I just turned my phone off. Um, I mean, I think angels they would be economical with the truth if they weren't uh, admitting that they're there to make money. That you invest in the hope that one in so many of your investments will multiply 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, and 5, 6, 7 years down the line you'll have an exit. Um, and I think there's a kind of psychology going on there, which a lot of a lot of investors or angels don't talk about, which is being able to be part of the game. So, as an angel, you have your peer group, people that you know quite well who are also angel investors that might co-invest with you. You might be a member of an angel group or an angel network, and you want to be part of the game with them, to be able to talk about your successes, your bragging rights. You don't want to be talking about failure too often. And it's as exciting to angels as it might be to other people that are into horse racing and go to Ascot for the day. It's that kind of camaraderie almost, with a group of people that just enjoy um, talking about what they want to talk about. So and then there are other drivers, I guess, for some people, which is about paying it forward or giving back, or they've done well in life, so they want to give other people a start in life. Um, and they also have specific knowledge or expertise which they want to impart to other people, and they might be looking alongside an advisor role or a ned or a mentor role, so that um, they can ease themselves into retirement gently, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, point 150 of your 150 points in your book is dopamine, and that's really,
Yeah,
really, really, really sort of struck me, is that angel investors are human beings. Lots of them are
yeah,
exited founders.
yeah,
Lots of them have done the year playing golf. Whether they play golf or not, that's what you seem to do when you exit, or you have a big exit. And
yeah,
I get the impression that lots of angels are absolutely sort of looking for something to keep them busy, looking for something that's going to give them a little bit of bragging rights, but also looking for something that kind of stimulates them and keeps them interested. And it's like a new project for the next 3 to 5 years that they can, as you say, potentially chip in, contribute, be that advisor, that mentor. And I wanted to sort of move on
yeah,
to sort of talk about
yeah.
the power of FOMO when
Yes.
raising through angels. Could you share a little bit about your experience and your thoughts about how you create that FOMO and sort of how it benefits when you're raising?
Yeah, just on your last point, I think there's a kind of vicariousness about it. It's a bit like becoming a grandparent almost. It's you know
Yeah, yeah,
without all the same troubles of direct parenting. FOMO. I mean, FOMO and scarcity and so on. Um, I think it's quite common for people to give advice to founders that if you want to raise investment, then you've got to create some kind of fear of missing out, that this is such a good investment that you've just got to jump onto this train because, if you'll miss it forever or whatever, it's fabulous. And part of me says there's something in that. But part of me says that, that's an emotive reaction that giddy need teenagers have, and mature adults, that are a bit more rational most of the time, um, can often resist that, and will look to try and see through what is actually here.
Mm.
So whilst I think there's a lot of advice in trying to encourage you to do it, I don't think it's wholly successful all of the time,
No.
because investors have such a lot of opportunity, such a lot of supply to invest in. We couldn't cope if everybody was trying to say, this is an unmissable opportunity. Oh, there's one coming from here and one from here and one from here. They're all unmissable. I'll just sod it. I won't do anything. So,
Yeah. I've been introduced to the concept of the angel champion recently.
yes,
The one person who kind of understands the sector and who can kind of, inverted commas, drive the herd forward and sort of almost like literally champion you as a good investment. What are your thoughts on that, Phil? Do you believe that's the key? Is that part of the process? How important do you think finding a
um,
champion is?
I think if as a founder you can find someone that would take on that role for you to champion your business and also invest, be a lead investor and try to share with other investors, why they've invested, why they see you're such a good opportunity. That that obviously can do you no harm, I think. Um, I think the difficulty with it is that they know, and all other investors know, that the chances of you succeeding are small. So finding someone that's actually willing to herald you, to trumpet you, knowing that there's probably a, 90% chance that you'll be bust in 5 years' time
Hmm.
is a challenge in itself.
It
It's
feels like,
not something that I personally spend a lot of time trying to do.
yeah, it feels like almost a reactive sort of retrospective thing that I found this person who really understands my sector and I've spent time building a relationship with them and they've got to know my business and me and my team and they've sort of become the champion sort of in reverse, if that makes sense. I've heard that happen
Yes,
a few times.
yes,
Um, so it's an interesting one, and I think I feel like that for me, the angel journey is more about networking, relationships, and asking for advice, guidance, and mentorship
yeah.
than directly asking for investments. And I just wanted to sort of finish off, really, Phil, with your thoughts about how you approach angels. What's the best way to kind of engage with them, interact with them, and potentially close them for investment?
Well, if I put a founder's hat on, you mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that, almost rule number one is invest in relationship building from as early as possible. Um, I'm not I'm not a mad keen advocate on cold outreach, receiving cold outreach from complete strangers that say, I've got this investment opportunity. It's a fabulous opportunity, and then they go through some numbers, and then I think, well, so what? Often I've seen 100 of these in the last week, or so, so.
Mm.
So yeah, invest in relationships. Try to find people through networking, through asking people about other people they know who might be interested in your sector, um, and build relationships often through asking for advice rather than asking for investment.
Mm,
Um, I think it works sometimes to talk to experts, investors in your sector about, you know, about the problem rather than the solution. Um, you're trying to build a solution to a particular problem. What do they know about the problem? What would they look for in a solution?
mm,
And then, getting ideas from them, sharing your thoughts, and then you move towards a kind of rapport with them, and they may come in on an investment if they like what you're trying to do enough. And the second thing, I mean, loads of things in the book really, but one of the key things I'm keen on is trying to work out what your competitive advantage is, what it is that you've got that you bring, that you think other people can't bring. And it may be IP, but in most cases it isn't.
mm.
It's it's things like the size of the audience you've already created, the numbers of followers you've got, the unique, disruptive, game-changing solution that you've got, um, the um, the special, the authority you have in the sector, the team that you build around you, the fact that you might have some inside knowledge from one or two people that are in positions of influence, um, and being able to maximize on what you think your competitive advantage is over other players, other competitors in your sector.
Yeah, I think it's really really sound advice, Phil, and I think anything you can do to build that moat around you and the business is always going to put you in good stead for raising
Mm,
investment with angels or with funds.
yeah,
So I think some of that advice is absolutely top quality. We are Founders 15. We're trying to keep these podcasts nice and short. So let's just close, Phil, with just saying I've got your book, AngelThink. I'm going to shamelessly promote it because I think it's genuinely a really, really good book. And I just
great.
final question really is, what was your inspiration behind the book, and why should founders read it? What are they going to get from reading the book?
Inspiration. I mean, I've been involved with founders, or as an angel initially for about nearly 15 years or so. I made an investment in a company 12 years ago. Um, I became a NED initially, and I'm now a chair of it. I've been a chair for over 2 years. Um, but I've been involved, as a member of angel groups and as an individual angel, working with founders as a advisor, NED chair, coach, mentor, whatever. And I see so many that, it sounds a bit unforgiving, but could do better. um,
Yeah.
and I see lots of founders just rush in a fairly impatient way to try to raise money, when their product and themselves are nowhere near the kind of finished item, as it were. And I just want to share some insights with people to improve their chances of success from the perspective of an angel, to understand how angels think, to what's going to, like, turn our key, press our buttons, whatever, that improves their chances of raising money, and hopefully turns them into more exceptional entrepreneurs, because it's, at the end of the day, it's only the exceptional people that are gonna succeed.
Yeah, I hear
So
that.
lockdown came along probably nearly 4 years ago, and I thought, I've been posting a few things on LinkedIn, 30 or 40 like tips or insights or gems, if you like. I could turn this into a book, and I'd like to try and turn it into a book which is formatted like no other book that I've come across. That's not the bog standard 10 or 12 chapters, that people haven't got time to read. They'll try and find a summary of it. So I thought I'd try and write an unsummarizable book and I came up with a number, the challenge over 6 months. Find 150 insights. Each one of them hopefully would be, a gem or worthy of reading by a founder that might help them on their journey to
Yeah.
raising money and building their business.
And for my part, I'm really enjoying it. I think there's some really good insight, not just about raising through angels, but about raising in general, about mindset, about the approach, about the preparation, about, for me, the number one thing is understanding the mind of the investor and flipping your entire pitch to say, I'm here to pitch in the way that you need it to help you get comfortable with me. So
there is always a what's in it for me thing, that you have to think about. So
yeah, and I think it's a great book. I think there's some really good insight in there. I'm going to wrap up today by just saying, Phil, if people want to get in touch, how did they reach out and say hi?
On LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a number of people that have read the book that direct message me and say it's fabulous. Which is great. That keeps me going.
Well, if it helps, I was one of them, Phil. I messaged you the other day saying it's a great book. So thank you for writing it, and thank you for being on the podcast today. And it was a real pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise. Good to
Thanks,
meet you.
Phil.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Phil.